Welcome back to another podcast episode. I am joined with Ryan Stewart from Webris.
How we doing?
Not too bad. First of all, thanks for hopping on. I know you're a busy man in Miami. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I'm in Miami. Not that busy.
Not that busy. But yeah, so first of all, for anybody that doesn't know who you are, introduce yourself.
So I've been in the marketing search space for about 15 years, primarily building, running agencies, consulted with some very large clients back in the day, Target, Best Buy, things along that nature. Sold a couple agencies as well, sold a couple of online businesses, but really my sweet spot is service-based businesses. So I currently own and operate 3 of them. I have Ryan Stewart Consulting, which is a fractional CMO offer. I have Webris Agency, which almost exclusively law firms and search marketing, SEO, paid search, and some social ads as well. And then I have the Blueprint Training, which is a training platform specifically for SEO agencies.
Yeah, so a lot of different offers, but they all kind of tie into one another, which I think is pretty important, especially when it comes to scaling out a team to be able to like fulfill all of those. But agency life, let's talk about that, because a lot of people hate agency life. They hate client work, and I know at one point you actually sold up and then you came back.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the crack? Why did you come back?
Well, people hate doing client work because they're actually doing the client work. That's the problem. Stop doing client work. You won't hate it. Like you don't actually have an agency if you're doing client work. You're a consultant, you're a freelancer, you're a contractor, so step one is removing yourself from the operations of the business. And a lot of people in the SEO space struggle with that because there's a lot of moving pieces. They feel like there's nobody better than them at it, when in fact SEO is really not that complicated. So what we teach and coach inside of the Blueprint Training, it's a 5-part pillar, but the first 3 pillars are the most important. So number 1 is specialization. So if you're trying to run an agency and you're working with an e-commerce shop and then a law firm and then a dentist, it's a different SEO process for each one of those, right? E-commerce SEO is dramatically different than local SEO. Just building the content, building the links, the keyword research, understanding and have a context for the industry. So, of course, if you're doing SEO or any type of marketing for all those different types of businesses, every day is going to be drink from a fire hose. You're going to be spending a lot of time just trying to understand what this business is trying to accomplish. So step 1 is specialization. Some people call it finding an itch. I call it specialization. Within that too, it's developing an offer that is built for that industry. So an example of that is, and where a lot of SEO people struggle too, and hate the business, is that they're trying to take a square peg and jam it into a round hole. What I mean by that is like SEO is not for everyone anymore. It's just not. And if you try and sell SEO or force SEO onto a gym or other business types, it's not going to work. They're just never going to make money. And if they don't make money, you're not going to make money. So I have this balance. It's called offer market fit, which is finding the right market and then the offer that goes with it. So with us and law firms, we have what we call a blended search approach, which is, it's not enough, frankly, if you're an injury and accident lawyer, which is one of the most brutally competitive spaces on the internet, to just be like, yeah, we're going to do SEO and we're going to do it the traditional way. It's just not going to work, especially in that industry where they are primarily focused on generating leads, not rankings and traffic. So the offer that we developed it's a little bit of paid, a little bit of organic, and a lot of local stuff, because that's what drives the fastest and best results. So we sell it as a blended search approach, and that's the offer that we built for them. And it's a home run offer in that space if it's the right type of client. So then pillar 2 is productization. This is really about starting to pull yourself out of operations. And again, kind of to your point, like SEO sucks. I haven't done SEO in a very long time. I just haven't. I would be like the last person. I showed up and you said, we're not going to talk about SEO. And I'm glad, because it's not what I do anymore. I've realized that, one, it's exhausting business model. If you're selling, you're managing finances, you're dealing with client work. If you're not dealing with that stuff, if you're just focused on growing the business, it's a great business to run, because you're getting paid up front in very large amounts. You're getting long-term contracts in most cases, and it's a service that people inherently know takes time. So you're getting like 6 months, which in most cases is like 30 to 60 grand of cash very few business models are like that, man. Like very, very few business models are like that. And it's something that in the right industries, when it's overlaid on top of, right, like law firms are great because inherently they know Google's the best way for them to get clients. And they know that they need SEO. So like we're not going through this process of pitching them on what SEO is and why it's important. We're just trying to differentiate ourselves from the market, and that's where the offer comes into play. So productization is the process of putting processes and systems behind everything that you do. And you can't do that. You can't systematize things if you're working with different types of clients and if you're constantly changing your offer. So that allows you to put a system in place that allows you to replace yourself. It allows you to replace yourself with SEO. It allows you to replace yourself with project management, sales, everything. So those are kind of the core tenets that I teach inside the Blueprint training. And if you can do those things, then running this business is actually incredibly fruitful. It's why I came back after selling, because I realized that there's very few business models on the planet that allow me to make this type of revenue and profits while sitting in gym shorts all day and taking interviews, like, because it's really not that complex once you have it distilled down to a simple checklist. And that's really what our agency runs on. I have some ads running right now and people are talking shit in the comments, but I'm like, our business runs on a Google Doc. Like our entire multi-million dollar agency runs on a Google Doc, and that's it. And that allows me to go out and find people that are not overly expensive, that can follow a process, that want to learn, want to grow. And that's really what our service is built on. And that's why we've had success. And that's why I have success teaching it too, because if you break it down into those pillars, it's an incredibly effective business model.
Yeah. I remember when I very first got into SEO, there was like a handful of guys that were publishing videos. One of them was yourself. And I started watching like some of the Blueprint videos that you were doing at the time, like 5-6 years ago. And somebody asked me like, why is Ryan so good? And I said, well, his SOPs and his Google Sheets are kind of like Google Sheets on steroids. Like that's the best way that I could describe it at the time, because it was just like, right, first of all, you go into this Google Sheet, you start doing these technical ticks, and then you go on to the on-page, so on and so forth. That's what really stood out to me, because you had properly systemized it, which I don't think even today many people have done correctly. But yeah, let's talk about structuring the agency, because it sounds like you don't have much daily involvement, per se, in the agency. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I work on it every day, but I work on the things that I want to work on and where I think I can add the most value. So, like, I kind of look at myself as the chief revenue officer of that business. So, marketing and sales, right? It's my job to get clients. And I do so through a number of different marketing tactics. I have a very interesting sales setup that we can talk about. I actually take pretty much all the sales calls, which I know most agency people, including myself a couple years ago, would tell you that's a bad idea. But what I've done is I can have it so systematized and productized that, like, I spend my entire day on Zoom calls no matter what, whether I'm talking on a podcast, whether I'm making my own videos, whether I'm talking to clients, whatever it is, I'm on Zoom calls. So taking sales calls for me, and I'm really good at it too. I know a lot of people say that, but like I'm really, really good at it, especially because my level of knowledge and understanding and just kind of the vibe and that they get these law firms from me, that they're talking to the business owner and they've been burned so many times in the past by SEO agencies that my close rate is extremely high. And I know people say that all the time. Trust me, because I work with agencies who are like, oh, my close rate's insane. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure it is. But the challenge when it comes to sales is the time that goes into it, managing the CRMs, the follow-ups, the proposals. Like you just said before we came on, you put together a proposal that took like 8 hours of your time. So I hired somebody to do all that for me. She was a former SEO leader in an agency. I pay her a really good base plus commission on deals closed, and she handles all that. So all I have to do is show up to calls, record them, and then I have her trained where she watches the call, she puts together the analysis, and we've got this, like, the video that you watched, I'm about to release another one because the analysis that we're doing is 100 times better. We have like the scorecard analysis that we do. That's basically like a very detailed SEO audit, and I'm able to turn those around within 24 hours, which is critical in the sales process because the leads decay over time. If it takes it 2 weeks to get a proposal, they're not interested anymore, So I focused on that. I take, a handful of sales calls a week that are qualified sales calls, so probably like 5 per week. And then I do marketing. That's what I enjoy doing: video creation, social stuff, advertising, which we talked about a little before too. And then I show up to team calls twice a week, but I have a partner who's our COO who handles all the day-to-day stuff. And I think going back to what I was talking about and what you were talking about too, which is people don't like doing the business. Some people like doing the SEO part, and that's cool. Like if that's you, then you should focus on the operations, and you can find and hire or partner with people to take the other stuff off your plate. So at a macro level though, there's 3 businesses that I run, and they all have to fit into my work schedule. With a newborn too, my time is a little bit more limited. So with all my businesses, what I focus on is revenue generation. That's what I enjoy doing. That's what I feel like I'm best at. And that's where I feel like I have the most value. And I also just think in today's market, in the way that I want to run my businesses, which is from home, which is high profit, which is low people. I did the big agency thing with a lot of people in an office, and like, I hated it. It wasn't for me. So the way that I want to run my business is, I actually think the most important thing that I can do is what we're doing right now, which is basically some form of content creation, which ties into some form of revenue generation. So my time is really split between creating video, scripting videos, coming up with ad concepts, hooks, writing copy for social. To some people that might seem like menial tasks, but honestly, I think that's the most impactful thing that I can do, because that's also really, really hard to bring somebody else in to do. Really, really, really hard to do. And especially if you're good at it, then it's harder to place yourself with. So I don't spend, it sounds bad saying it out loud, but I couldn't tell you what clients we have on our roster unless I'm looking at our database or our financials. I have no contact with them. There's no ongoing communication. If they have a problem, they don't contact me either. They contact my partner. That's what he's there for. So I kind of realized early on that this business is, for me, it weighed me down, and you get that feeling of overwhelm and exhaustion if there's people that are constantly berating you, right? And sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it's not. Sometimes clients are just like little kids, they're just like crackheads. You just don't know what they're going to do. It'll wear you down, man. And if you're dealing with everything, you're dealing with that constant pressure and stress on top of the constant pressure and stress to get more clients, it's going to beat you down, and you're not going to want to do it for very long. So you've got to build in some sort of barriers, some sort of infrastructure within the business where like you're only dealing with certain things, and you hire or partner with people that are going to take a lot of that stuff off your plate, because it's too much for you to have to bear that all on your own.
Yeah, definitely. So then I want to get into the marketing side in just a second, but retention rate, because a lot of SEO agencies, that's where they suffer from. They're potentially onboarding 3 clients a month, but they're maybe losing 1 or 2 a month as well. So like, how would you do that? And I know the simple answer is probably provide a good service, right? But is there anything else apart from
Yeah. So we go month to month. We don't do long-term contracts. It's kind of the nature of working with law firms that they have just been burned so many times by agencies that it's really hard to get them to sign a 12-month contract. So yes, obviously doing a good job is a big part of it, but 2, over communicating is really important. So we moved our project management system to a model where we like if you were to build a very detailed project plan in Asana or ClickUp, which is what we use, and you're the one who's going through, you're going to be getting notifications all the time from the system. Like, hey, this was done, this was done, this was done. Traditionally, we haven't shared that with clients before in the past because we found it to be a little bit overwhelming. But 6 months ago, we started doing that because we were hearing from some clients within the first 60 days, you're going to get that buyer's remorse, especially if you're going on month-to-month contracts. Even if you tell them a million times, like, hey, buddy, this is going to take time. Like, you got to give us at least 90 days till you start to see anything. So we started basically and we can talk about how the agency is structured in terms of people too, but we started having our strategy team send everything that was done to the client. We basically just templated all the emails. So every single deliverable that we have as an email template that then gets fired off to them. That says, just want to let you know, XYZ was completed. If you want to look into it more, it's inside of your project plan. And just that little bit of stuff alone. And then also a link like, hey, if you want to talk about it, like here's a link to my calendar, you can book a call. They never book calls. But like that little bit of over communication goes a very, very, very long way. People just want to feel like you're paying attention, you know, when they're paying a lot of money and they know they're not going to see results, whether they admit that they know that or not is one thing, but like they just want to know that you're putting in the time and the effort. And a lot of the times as SEOs, we take for granted how much work that we do. And if you really break it down at a micro level, you're doing a lot. And it should be communicated to the client, whether they want it or not, whether they want to see it or not, just send it to them. So obviously the results like is huge, but that takes time, you know? So communication, time and effort is the best thing that you can do to keep them and retain them, you know, especially if you're not on contracts like we are.
Yeah, definitely. And then going back to structuring the agency and stuff, if you are going down the path of over communicating, which to be honest, I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that there's probably a lot of SEO agencies where they'll just shoot off a monthly report, and you probably, as a business owner, you probably do want to know a little bit more what's been done with the links, what's been done with the content, etc. But how many people have you got like communicating with the law firms or with the clients and stuff?
Yeah, so our structure, we don't have account or project management people. And this is really maybe because of my stubbornness, because I used to work at a big agency. And like when I was first out of college, I worked at very big consulting firms. And what they would do is they would take you, the low person on the totem pole, and they would make you the shit shield. And you would have to deal with clients, and you know, you were literally the cheapest paid person, but you're the highest profitability rate on a big agency's just books, because they're charging 5x for your time. So I told myself I would never run a business like that. I would never put my people in a position where they were having to deal with that. So the way that and the account people too, like they don't know any better, right? They're not doing the work. Account and project managers are literally just people that are really more, in my opinion, for project managers anyways, make sure that the people internally have what they need to get things done. So again, going back, the fact that we're so highly specialized and we only work with law firms, the service is done before we even start, basically, right? Like we know the exact content we're going to create. We have the exact templates. We've written it a million times. We know the links that we're going to build because we have a database of only law firm links that we've worked with. It's all done, right? It's just a matter of basically assigning the work to the people and having it get done. So we basically just have one role, which is an SEO strategist. So like we just call them a marketing strategist now, because we're doing a little bit more than just SEO. But that person is responsible for project management and communication, as well as doing like the core SEO tasks. So like for us, the core SEO tasks are like the initial website audit, managing the project and the campaign too. It's almost like if you think about when you're first getting started as an SEO, you start doing everything yourself and you're like, okay, I now know what I need. I can like get a VA for or outsource and hire. I wanted to empower my people to be the same way. So like a lot of the local SEO stuff, we have contractors that do that stuff for us, like GVP optimizations. I'm not going to make my strategists do that. That's a $10 an hour task, right? So we have this project plan, very detailed, that's built out, that we know the core things that like we want our top talent to do, which again, website audit, communication, project management. Those are things that, to me, I want the person who's responsible for the campaign, that has context for the campaign managing, because then they can also talk to the client about it. So we really just have that one role. And then underneath that, we basically just got like a pod of contractors and freelancers that we'll use: local SEO, content writers, web developers, designers here and there as needed, and a paid search contractor that we'll use for PPC campaigns. So it's really just that one person that we have at the agency. That's like our core role. And the rest of it is subcontracted, or I don't want to say outsourced, because we don't outsource it. It's more of like insourcing. Like we're getting people off of Upwork or off of LinkedIn that we're paying a contract, you know, hourly, but they basically work for us. They're in our Slack channel. They're in our project management communication. Outsourcing is like taking your entire thing and be like, hey, do our local SEO and send us a report. That's not what we do, because these things are too important. So we have that one person who is also responsible for the communication, the client calls, which makes things a lot easier when you're hiring too. Because, you know, when I was doing this years and years and years ago, I would need a technical SEO, and that person would have to be expensive, and they would need to know a lot about SEO. And it was difficult to balance internally in terms of the profit margins, because I would need a technical SEO person and a content person. and then like a link person, and then a project manager. And I was like, dude, there's too many roles. There's too many people. Like, we're going to have to charge a lot of money for this to make sense. So instead we simplified it. And again, this goes back to just working with one type of client. So much of your problems can be figured out by just specializing, because then everything else in the back end streamlines and it becomes much easier. So we just have that one role. It's a strategist role. And then it's overseen by, Caesar, who's my partner, and we've got 60 plus clients. So and I think we have 4 or 5 strategists. It's not like we have a million of them. They're basically, we give them like 10 to 15 clients that they can manage, and then we'll just bring on another one as needed. Because also with an SEO campaign, like after you get to the first couple months, there's not a whole lot of work being done. They're basically just managing content and links, which is being handled by a content writer, and it's being handled by a link, basically like specialist that we have.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then marketing the agency, talk to me about that, because I go on Twitter, I see you there. I go on LinkedIn, I see you there. Facebook, obviously you're running some Facebook ads and stuff. Like you are the man that I can't escape from. So how'd you do it? So
it's just content, man, like a volume of content. So what I teach inside of the blueprint for marketing your agency, and this is something that I used to not teach in the past because I would always make excuses for people. And I would say, well, you need video, and it's really hard for me to teach people how to make videos. So I'm just going to be like, do outbound, but like the fact of the matter is that you need to create video. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. You don't have to, but like, you're only going to have a certain level of success, and that's on you, not me. So what I teach and coach is the system that I use, which is it starts with a long form piece of video content, because to me, that's what sells the best. So specifically with law firms, right, is that they struggle with trust with agencies. So my core focus is creating at least one piece of 10 to 15 minute video content per week. So the way that I do this is twofold. Every week I sit down with my partner, Caesar. We get on Riverside just like this. We pick a topic and we talk about it. We cut it up, we edit it, we put it on a podcast, and we put it on YouTube. The other thing that I'll do is I just got a studio, and now I'm filming like direct videos for law firms too, that are again just tackling very specific topics, 10 to 15 minutes each. Law firm lead generation strategies, how to get reviews, stuff like that. Once I have that's an asset that I can then use to then advertise with, to put on YouTube, to get written into a blog post for our website. And then also what I'm doing a lot more of now is cutting them up into shorter videos for social. But I don't do shorts like this because I don't find they do as well. I do the shorts in the studio because they play a little bit better. You can do it like this, but there's got to be some pretty controversial topics that you're going to use for shorts. And then once I have that short, then I'll put that on YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, LinkedIn, and TikTok now as well. And what that does, right? So we're just talking about organically now, right? Like what that does, I actually just made a video about this, is the internet has changed like pretty quickly. We used to be on a cookie system where like people would go to your website, they'd get cookied, and you could like remarket to them, right? Cookies are dead, they're gone. So what I see happening now is much more of like an organic ecosystem and flywheel that's generated because all these platforms are interconnected through our phones and our devices. So I see it all the time now, right? Is that like X or Twitter will like serve you somebody. It happened to me with Alex Becker recently. If you know Alex Becker, right?
I like to call this the Tate effect. You watch one Andrew Tate video, and
you're fucked. So it happened to me with Alex Becker recently, where like I haven't seen his stuff in a while, and I got a tweet from his that it's just so crazy, man. These like, not to get too deep, but like I've gotten very spiritual over the past 2 years, and I've gotten back into going to church and stuff like that. And he tweeted about God, and I'm like, I was having a conversation in my text message with somebody about it like a day before. So I like in my head, I think that what happened was like Twitter saw that, they know all this stuff, and it served me that tweet because I never get this. I haven't seen his stuff in years, literally. I got that tweet, I liked it. I think I even retweeted it. Next thing you know, I'm getting all his ads from Hyros on YouTube. I'm getting his videos about crypto on Instagram. I'm like, and it's just crazy, right? But like, that's what happens, is that when you show a little bit of interest and you engage with these things, especially when you comment, like whatever it is, like it our phones just know everything. And I don't have the data to prove this. I just know this based on experience too. It's the same thing too. If like my wife and I give this example all the time, we're talking about Windex, bro. And the next thing you know, I'm getting fucking Instagram story ad about Windex. I'm like, there's no way that you can target people that are in market for Windex. It's just, they listen to us and they know, and it's all interconnected. As a marketer, I'm okay with it. As a consumer, it's a little bit weird, but so you can take advantage of the same thing. And that's kind of where I'm getting with this, is that like, one, if you have one source of content that you can create, I like video because it's the most scalable, because you can use it to then push it into other mediums as well. Written word, podcast, YouTube is, to me, is huge, especially in the agency space, to educate people. Then you've got something that you can build that flywheel off of organically, and then you tie in ads off the back of that too. You know, you create the organic content and then you just start running ads. Again, it's all interconnected. Like, Facebook knows exactly who's in market without having to give it any sort of targeting, you know? So you build that organic stuff, just create, man. Like, social media is free. And if you're not posting on there all the time, you're just like, people ask me all the time in the blueprint, like, how do you generate leads? I'm like, show me one of your social media profiles right now, and I'll tell you why you're not generating leads. Because you never post, you never talk about what you're doing, you never share any inside tips or whatever, you know. That's why you're not generating leads, because you're not talking about it, you know. So yeah. They don't just come to you naturally and organically. You can cold DM people all you want, but like, it's a wasted effort. Like, nobody wants to be sold to or marketed that way, you know. You just have to create stuff. I don't want to get all Gary Vee on you, but it's true, you know. And that's kind of the state of the internet right now, is that the more that you create, the more that you engage with people, the easier it gets. And it just kind of piles on from there. So that's what I teach and coach. And I know it's like what a lot of people don't want to hear, but it's kind of the truth. And that's just what it is. It's too competitive out here now. Like, everyone has an agency. Everyone's selling these services. You think you're just going to like get clients? You're not. Like, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes patience. And the other thing is too, is that like, they might be sitting here being like, well, I've tried that. Well, you quit too early is why it didn't work. You know, like, it takes years, man. Like, I've been doing this for 15 years, dude. Like, a long time, a long time. And I've been creating all along the way and still doing it, you know. Like, it just takes time.
Yeah, I recently saw a quote, and it was something like, it was like in a YouTuber's space, and people were basically complaining, saying that they've not had like a million hit video and stuff. And the coach actually replied back saying, like, your next video could be your 1 million hit video. You just don't know it yet, because you're probably just about to quit, which kind of resonates with what you were saying. But the Facebook ad side of stuff, and this is where I think you really stand out as an agency owner and as a marketer as well. The Facebook ad side of stuff, and also the ad copy, because you understand it. And obviously we were having a joke and a laugh before we went live, but there's a lot of SEOs, and you've probably had it yourself, where link building guys will message you saying, hi dear, do you want some backlinks? Or they'll potentially even message you saying like, hey, do you want some SEO? And it's like, why are you advertising SEO to an SEO? And when I look at your website as well, it resonates with a law firm. They don't care about the amount of links they're getting, the amount of content that's being uploaded, the technical SEO audits that you're doing. Literally, your website says get more leads. Yeah,
that's what they care about. I mean, so just to address that, right? Like, again, the way that I teach and coach this stuff is that people only care about themselves. They don't care about you. They don't care about what you do. If you're creating copy, content, anything that says we or I a lot, your website too, you can audit it, no one's going to care. They care about themselves, and they care about the problem that they're having, and they're interested in you if you can demonstrate that you know how to solve that problem. So law firms are kind of the extreme example of this, because they especially don't care about links and content. They just care about end result. That's why I love working there so much, because like, nobody audits our links, nobody audits our content. They're just like, hey, did we get more leads than we got last month and last quarter and last year? If so, yeah, like, we're going to cut you a check for 10 grand a month and you'll never hear from us. And that's why I want that. That's what I prefer. And I think a lot of SEOs are actually uncomfortable with that, because they're not keeping the main thing. They're too focused on those things. They're not focused on what the client actually cares about. It's a separate conversation. But when it comes to writing copy, you always start with problems, and you always start with you, right? And the first line of copy that you write, whether it's a video, whether it's a LinkedIn post, whether it's an ad, it needs to do a couple things. One, it needs to qualify the audience. So it should be addressed to that audience. So if it's agency owners, if it's law firms, and you don't have to do like attention law firms like a lot of people do. So that's one, is like qualify, especially if you're running ads or organic too, because that's how the algorithms know how to serve it to, right? Because you qualify, you put that in, that's how you get people to stop and engage, which then tells the algorithm, okay, this is the pocket of the audience that wants to see this. We'll now serve this to more people like that. Same thing with ads. That's why with ads, we actually don't really run that much targeting anymore, because the copy and the creative should dictate who it's getting served to, especially based on the actions that they take. And I'll give you an example of that in a second. So one is qualify. Two is to address a problem that they're having, right? So lack of leads, lack of performance, frustration with agencies that they currently have. You have to intimately understand who you're talking to. And then three is open a loop. So open a loop just means pique curiosity to get them to like basically click, read more. So you need to do those three things with any piece of copy or any hook that you create. A good example that I like to give is one ad that we've run in the past that's worked really well for us is targeting a law firm. So there's levels to law firms. More than any other business that I've ever worked with, 1% of law firms control 99% of the market. There's so many law firms out there that are basically solo practitioners. They make a couple $100,000 a year, probably not unsimilar to agencies, honestly, but they don't really have a business. They're not really qualified to work with us. So we need to go after like top of the market. When we just run normal ads that are talking about like, hey, law firm, like struggling with your leads, it produces a lot of small law firms. So we had to look really, really, really hard at our copy and our creative, because you can't really put that into Facebook like, hey, like target hiring. It just doesn't work like that. So the copy that we used, the hook that just like really changed the game for us, was going back to that like 3-part framework. So we used this if statement, which was, if your law firm is spending more than $20,000 a month on pay-per-click ads, you should be getting at least, I think it was like 15 clients, right? And then it was like, hear me out, ... So that satisfies everything. One, qualifies law firm. Two, and even more so qualifies by saying if you're spending at least $20,000 a month on ads, right? Because if you're a law firm, you might see that, but if you're not spending $20,000 more a month on ads, then you're not going to stop and read more, click. And then three is saying you should be getting at least X result, right? So it's attacking that core problem that they're having. So another one that we did too was like, if your law firm has at least 5 lawyers on staff, you have a responsibility to feed them leads. If you're not, you're failing your employees, right? So like that, again, slaps them in the face, right? It attacks the problem that they're having. Yeah, exactly. And it qualifies too by saying if you have at least 5 lawyers on staff, which is something that we identified, or another one too is location. So again, we do a lot of local SEO. The more locations that they have, the more money that we charge them. So it was like, if your law firm has at least like 3 office locations, then you should be getting at least 150 phone calls per month, right? So like that if statement worked really, really well for us. And yeah, I mean, that's really the core of it, especially with advertising, right? It's just those 3 things. Every piece of content and copy that you create should have that. And then I also just follow a very simple framework when it comes to creating all types of content, which is the problem, agitate, solution framework, which is just, so I just like covered like the hook, which is the opening part. But, I like to state the problem, qualify, and then agitate as also kind of like, like that's why like you should be getting at least 20 clients, kind of agitating it. And then you got to state a solution, right? So like if you're going to open that loop, you're going to bring that to their attention. You're going to have to come with some heat that's going to support that, So, so like basically you explain yourself a little bit after that. So if we're saying like, if you have at least 3 locations with your law firm, you should be getting 150 leads per month, right? Like, then we expand on that by giving them the solution, which is like a proper optimization and a proper way to attack your GBP, and then click to view more, and we'll just send them to a longer video for them to watch. So then that longer video that we're sending them to goes back to what I was talking about before, which is like, that's the content that we're naturally and organically creating. So our strategy is just constantly feed organic with more content, and then constantly update our ads at least every week with the new content from the content that we're creating. And what we do too is we take the content on the organic side that performs the best, and we run that as ads. So not every piece of content does nearly as well. Some just inherently do better, and we just take those and we boost those with paid, and we just run them through the same funnel. It's just, we call it VSL funnel, which is a video watch funnel, which is just, again, slap them in the face with that problem, and then drive them to watch a 10 to 15 minute video. And if somebody watches the 10 to 15 minute video and they don't want to become a lead, then you got bigger problems. You know, like you have the wrong offer, you have the wrong audience. So that is what literally drives so much of our leads, right? It starts with the organic piece because people see your face around, which makes them more likely to click on the ad and pay attention to the ad. But then once I watch that video, like it's a wrap. You're in my ecosystem, and I'm going to close you.
Yeah, that makes sense. Here's an interesting one, because obviously you're running a lot of paid, and I'm going to assume that you're doing a lot of split tests. Potentially you're swapping out your video sales letter for potential other variations.
Yeah.
And you're probably tweaking your headlines and stuff like that. But how many tests like that are you running? Is it a lot? Because sometimes people will say, well, why do I need to run like a VSL when I can just have a simple Facebook opt-in form? Because obviously that's a bit of a debate on the Facebook ad side of stuff as well.
Yeah, you could. But like I like to optimize. I tell this to my law firm clients all the time, that like you need to optimize for the long click, aka like the full client signing, not just the front end. So what I mean by that is with law firms, with paid search, all the time they're optimizing for phone calls. And I'm like, yo, like phone calls is not a good KPI, because you're going to get so many phone calls from people that just want to ask you questions. That's it. Right? Like, so, and it's going to waste your time. It's going to burn you out. And you're going to be then pointing at marketing to be like, yo, you're wasting my money. You're getting shitty phone calls. Happens all the time. I'm like, that's because your agency is optimizing for the short term. They're not optimizing for the signed client. It's the same thing with lead form ads. I'm not saying that they don't work, but like I have no interest in getting somebody's email address. Like for what? So I can send them an email that you're never going to fucking open. Like email automations do not work like they used to. Email lists to me, they're not unimportant, but I would much rather have somebody watch a 15-minute video than get their email address. It's so much stickier, man. Like it's like who do you recognize more? People that you watch the video of, or somebody whose email list that you're on? I'm on people's email list and they email me and I'm like, who is this? And how'd you get my email? And it's probably because I opted in somewhere, right? Like, but all these marketers, I always opt in because I want to see their funnels, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are or what you're selling. Like, unsubscribe, move to spam. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like the lead form, you're going to optimize for the short term. You're going to get a lot of form submissions. They're going to be very cheap, but like, are they converting into paying customers? You know, like you're doing this to make money. That's like, don't get it twisted. I like, this is something that like I have to beat over my media buyer's head. My media buyer is amazing, but like he often falls victim to the ad optimization process, which he optimizes it click like step by step. 1, click-through rate. 2, clicks, cost per click. 3, cost per form submission. 4, cost per lead, and then cost per client. I'm like, I don't care about any of that. I care about cost per client. I don't care if I'm paying $1,000 for a form submission if I'm getting that cost per client under $3,000, which is my target cost per client, right? That's all I care about, because otherwise it's happened so much, especially at the Blueprint, where like there's a lot of marketers on Facebook. We get a lot of opt-ins. We've run template suites. We've run all sorts of stuff. And ultimately all it does is it increases the cost on active campaign, because we built an email list of 100,000 people and it was costing us like $3,000 a month to run active campaign and send these emails out. And nobody was buying off that email list. They just weren't, you know? So at the Blueprint, we actually moved to a model where we don't do free stuff anymore. Like I don't want free emails anymore, because they just don't turn into anything. So everything that we have now is a low ticket offer that turns into something else. So we moved to this model where we're selling boot camps. The boot camp is $199. Every month we do a new boot camp. It's a live event, 2 days. I throw everything I have at you, and then I try and upsell you into our program, which is $200 a month. So we give you the first month in our program free. So we're basically like putting that in front of people. And honestly, dude, the results have been like night and day in terms of, yeah, I mean, the business is growing faster than it's ever grown before, because we're hyper focusing on specific problems of the SEO agency process that we're now doing something every single month, which gives us new content, which gives us new ads, which gives us new angles. And honestly, I think that like, I'm happy talking about it because it's so hard to replicate, because we've had to build a team to support this model, right? Like I had to hire 2 full-time people to handle the live event process, because it's a lot. The landing pages, the copy, the offer design, like the ads, all that stuff. It's so much, but it works so well because you're advertising the same audience over and over again. And if you're advertising the same offer over and over again, they get tired of it. And if they didn't take action on the first time, they're not going to change their mind, you know? So moving to this bootcamp model, we did one on local SEO. We did one on technical SEO. We're doing one on AI content next month. We're teaching a very specific part of the process that can then engage people from the same audience to be like, okay, I don't give a shit about technical SEO, but link building is something I care about. So yeah, I'll sign up for that for $200, you know? And we just throw the kitchen sink at them in terms of like templates and all that type of stuff. And it's working really well. And then we have a higher ticket program that we upsell people to for $1,000 a month for like our inner circle kind of coaching program. So there's like a natural ascension model inside of once we get them inside of the program.
Right. Okay. That sounds good. Everything that you have told me about, like Weber's doing like the law firm SEO, the blueprint and stuff like that, it solely comes back down to you providing a lot of value for what the actual client or customer's getting. But yeah, you done an interesting tweet recently, and I want to ask you, is SEO dead?
Did I tweet SEO's dead?
No, you didn't tweet SEO's dead, but you were one of the first people that tweeted out saying that SG isn't actually killing websites off.
Oh yeah,
you're getting more clicks.
Yeah. Okay. First and foremost, what I put online, like, man, people there's just so many snowflakes out there that just get so like I people.
Did you get hate on that?
Oh my God, dude! I woke up this morning. If it's a tweet that you're talking about, I woke up this morning with like 100 notifications from people that were just like, "You're mean, you're cruel." I'm like, "Yo, what did I say, man?" All I said basically the core of what I said, and I'll give you kind of my stance on the future of SEO and what I think is coming. SEO is not dead; it's not dying. As long as people are using whatever platform they're using to search, you're going to have a role. Google optimizers are dying. The people who live and die by Google, the people who want to cry and complain that Google changed their algorithm, their summarizing answers, like, grow up, man. I've been doing this. Y'all never would have made it through the Penguin days, trust me. 2011, when Penguin came out, it decimated fuck your affiliate websites. You think this is bad? Penguin back in the day took you out of the SERPs completely with no overnight, man. Like local small businesses overnight out of the SERPs, completely gone, like way gone, with no support, no help, nothing. Just you bought spammy links, F you, you're out of the SERPs. Like it was bad. So I lived through that. I saw that firsthand. What we're seeing now with like basically what I'm kind of picking at people is SEO Twitter right now is just nonstop complaining about the AI answers and like the helpful content update. Does it suck if you're an affiliate website or a publisher? 100%. I empathize with you. I really do. Like it sucks. But figure something else out. You run a fucking business. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it, man. I'm sorry. Like, you should have seen it coming. Google changes all the time. You should have diversified your traffic source. You never build a house on rented property. If your entire business model, and I'm picking on affiliates now because they're like the loudest ones in their mom's basements, but like if you run an affiliate website and like your entire traffic source came from Google, you didn't have a business. You had a hobby. That's it, man. I'm sorry. Like, and you had a good run, and instead of complaining, you should be thanking Google because you were able to build a business that allowed you to sit at home and do nothing in your underwear and make money. Never in history have we seen that before. So instead of complaining, be thankful and figure something else out. Like these people just are attacking me nonstop because I posted about the AI update and I was like, you guys are mad at Google. Like Google's mad at you. Like we SEOs have destroyed Google SERPs for the entire time. Like Google is just adjusting to what, I mean, you can go into how they're a monopoly. They want to sell ad space. That's fine. They're a publicly traded company, man. This is capitalism. This capitalist society is what companies do. They need to make money. That's at the end of all costs, they need to make money. There's a couple of options for you. You can use a different search engine. You can no index your website. There's a plenty of different options, right? So I'm going off on a rant here that didn't answer your initial question. Sorry. You can check out my tweet on Twitter and you can feel free to badger me up there. It's fine. I can take it. But like this, so what I think is going to happen, right, is AI, the answer box. First of all, they scrapped SG because it was a bad product. It didn't work, and it's probably not going to work either. So AI answers to me are just replacing the knowledge box, which has been around forever. Which honestly, if you get into the knowledge graph or the no-click search, whatever it is, I don't even know what it's called anymore. Like you're going to get more traffic if you're there. Like it dominates clicks. It's going to be the same thing with this AI answer box. There's literally links to websites underneath it. People are complaining. They're like, it's stealing our content and summarizing our content. But like, yeah, like it also links to you right underneath. That's going to drive more clicks. So SEOs are going to start gaming that. It's going to erode that. And it's already kind of a bad product. So, but I think more at a macro level, like I said, off my soapbox now and talking more about like actual SEO strategy. We are moving to a more fragmented search ecosystem. ChatGPT. OpenAI just inked with Apple, right? It's going to take over Siri. Like, that's coming. Voice is coming. Google, TikTok, YouTube, all these platforms people are searching on, and it's definitely Reddit. They're fragmenting from what traditionally we've used Google for. Google is like the entryway to the internet. It's always going to be there, but for specific queries, it's going to go elsewhere, because honestly, the results are just bad. Like, if you're looking for travel information, cooking information, a whole bunch of different verticals that we already know, like even shopping, like Google's just not good for anymore. It's overwhelming, you know? So I've been playing around a lot with ChatGPT. It's not a search engine. Like, I wouldn't use it for a search engine. It's much more of a assistant more than anything. But I was asking it the other day, hey, I got in a car accident. Can you recommend me the best car accident attorney in Miami? And it gave me 3, and it linked out to them. And I just kept on following up with questions like, how did you come up with these? How did you come up with these? Like, and it would be like, well, time it, like we looked at like their history in cases 1, and I kept on asking it, like just refining the search over and over and over again to understand like how it was pulling these through. And basically it came down to essentially like EEAT scores, like reviews, time in business, reputation, and I was like, where do you get the reviews from? Google, Avo, FindLaw, all this different stuff. So like where I think search optimization is going, and I think this is a good thing, is moving much more holistically to like a reputation-based search, which is essentially what Google is supposed to be, right? Essentially, Google wants to show websites with a good reputation, but the way in which they've done so and the algorithm that they built has been spammed to death by SEOs. Like, let's be real here. Like, it's been beaten to death. It's caused, and then also too, the entrance of large corporate brands, which everyone complains about too, like killing small publishers. The algorithm just favors them because they have a better reputation, right? They meet the criteria of Google's algorithm better. So what I think is going to happen in the future is it's going to be much more of a holistic search optimization, where it's not going to be as linear in terms of here's a checklist to do SEO. It's going to be much more holistic in terms of actually helping businesses build their reputation online and showing up where they show up. Because a lot of these queries are also going to be based on the individual, because if it's AI search, your search results are going to look different than mine, whether that's ChatGPT, whether that's Google, wherever it is that you're looking. So I do think that it's going to turn much more into like holistic reputation development, if you will, that then these AI platforms will map specific queries to, and traffic's going to come from all over the place. It's not just going to be Google, it's going to be ChatGPT, it's going to be phones, it's going to be whatever platforms that we're using in the future. So do I think SEO is dead? No, but I do think that the traditional way of doing SEO is like going to kind of erode pretty quickly as these AI platforms pick up, and that's fine, because the people, this industry, like I said, I just love going back and forth on Twitter with people, but like this industry has always been very resistant to change. It's always fought it tooth and nail. And instead of adapting like an adult and like an entrepreneur and a business owner does, because you're always going to face problems, instead of adapting and figuring out challenges, they just want to complain about it and like blame Google for it. And it's like, Google's like, fuck you, dude, I don't care about you, you know, like, so you can complain on Twitter all you want about your affiliate website. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be an ass, but like, it is what it is, man. Like, move on, figure something else out. And there's plenty of opportunity. Like, the internet is not going anywhere. People are not going anywhere. If anything, we're getting more and more chronically online, you know? It's just going to become fragmented, and it's going to change the way that we've traditionally done things. So that's my kind of stance on SEO, is that I think too many people that are SEOs, quote unquote, are just Google optimizers that just want to follow the same process that's been done for 10 years. And it's just not going to work anymore, you know? And that's okay if you adapt, you know?
Yeah, I think just to touch on everything that you've just said about Twitter and stuff, Twitter is very, very toxic, especially after an algorithm update. People just don't like we are freaks in a way. SEOs just don't like change, whether it's the slightest thing. I've seen people complain about the color of the links that Google's using, and it's like, really, that's what you're complaining about today?
Yeah.
But that's the last SEO related question. But it sounds like you have had a lot of learning throughout like your setting up your agency, previous jobs and stuff like that. But what are some failures you've had along the way? Because obviously, like we spoke in Birmingham, and I know for a fact, being an entrepreneur, it's not just all sunshines and rainbows. Being on boats in Italy and stuff like that, because that's what a lot of people would think being an entrepreneur is, but what's a couple failures that you've had along the way?
Yeah, and I do have to wrap this in 2 minutes. Sorry, I have another call at the top of the hour. I mean, every day there's like a mini failure. You know what I mean? That's what I was talking about with like these people complaining, is that I understand that like not everyone who gets into this is an entrepreneur or a business owner. I wasn't either, man. But like part of doing this, if you want a seat at the table with anything in life, if you want to be on the boats in Italy, it comes with a lot of difficulties, man. It comes with challenges. It comes with problems. And every single day running a business, you're going to have new problems, whether that's clients firing you, whether that's employees leaving, whether that's dealing with employees fighting with each, whatever that is. Every single day there's many failures that happen, and it's like really what your main job is. I said my job is like chief revenue officer. Really what my job is to solve problems. Every day when I show up to our team calls, the first thing out of my mouth is what problems do I have and how can I help? That's literally the first thing out of my mouth on every single team call, because that's ultimately what your job is. So every single day there's something new. There's been bigger ones, there's been smaller ones, you know. I've had the first business that I ran, my partner locked me out of everything overnight. It was crazy, and I lost everything that I had invested into that business overnight. I had no legal grounds to stand on, and I got royally effed. But did I go to Twitter and cry about it? No. I literally picked myself up the next day and I said, I'm going to be better without him anyways. And sure enough, I was. You know, every day there's something. It's hard. Embrace it. It's supposed to be hard. And if you're not comfortable with that, I like, some people think I'm an ass because I'm too direct. Maybe I'm from the older generation that like actually grew up, you know, playing outside and playing contact sports. But like, it's supposed to be hard. And if you're not comfortable with it being hard, then like you're in the wrong business. And there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be challenges. You need to learn to love it, man. You really need to learn to love it. And that's not a cliche. It just that's what your job is, you know? So I do have to jump, man. I do appreciate you having me.
Yeah,
we'll have to do this another time.
Thanks for jumping on, and I'll have all your socials and stuff like that in the description. So if anybody wants to follow Ryan, feel free. But thanks for watching.
And I'm a lot nicer in person, I promise.